Hello everyone. Today I have something not 3D printed or laser cutter related, but instead something about IoT. Today I'll be showing you how I set up my RAK2245 Gateway, LoRa Gateway, using a Raspberry Pi 3B+. So I ordered this online from AliExpress, and it came in this box. And inside the box there was of course the RAK2245 Pi hat, and a bag of screws and standoffs, as well as one LoRa antenna and a GPS antenna as well. So off screen I designed and cut out a case for this Raspberry Pi with the hat, and I'm going to assemble it now and set it up, and also show you how I set up the firmware on the LoRa gateway. Let's do it. So I'm just gonna first take out these screws. They gave me 8 2.5 M2.5 standoffs, as well as a bunch of, I believe, M2.5 by 5 screws, which I believe would screw onto the standoffs. So I'm gonna first put on the hat onto the board. Okay, it fits like this, and I think now I can put the standoffs to hold it in place. Actually, I should have put the standoffs first. Let's see. Right, now I'm going to fit this Raspberry Pi into the case I designed, and this case is actually designed to fit onto my window grills. So the idea is that this piece will zip tie itself onto the window grill like this, and then it will allow me to mount this new gateway onto the window, where hopefully you'll be able to cover an area that is not blocked by the rest of my house. So this goes in like this. The screws on the Raspberry Pi will line up with the holes in the acrylic sheet. Alright, and then I've designed the rest of the case to accommodate the USB ports, as well as the HDMI and audio jack of the Raspberry Pi. It's a bit loose, so I might need to use a bit of acrylic glue to go over this thing and kind of secure it in place, because I don't think this is going to hold itself out purely from friction. But just so I get a general idea of everything going together, I'm just going to dry fit everything without glue, and then come back and glue it to ensure that everything stays where it needs to be. Alright, this is a bit tricky. Alright, I do need to glue this thing, it's not holding itself together. Now I'm going to use acrylic glue. I got these from Art Friend, and I'm going to just use it to glue on this case. I will not glue on the top, because its top is fastened onto the whole body via screws. I'll just be gluing on the 4 walls of the case. When using acrylic glue, it's important to press down once the glue has been placed, and make sure that you keep the pressure on for perhaps like 10 seconds, because the glue takes, I think the glue is not really so much a glue but rather a cement, so it kind of melts both surfaces for a period of time. and then once you press it down, the two surfaces fuse chemically, if I'm not wrong. And so it's not so much about the duration of time in which you press down, but rather the quality of the bond at that exact moment in time for about 10 seconds. So it's more important to take your time to position the parts well before pushing it down, because once it goes down, it's going to set in like less than 10 seconds. So take the pie and double check that this is the correct configuration. Okay, so this goes here. Alright. I wonder if I can actually fit the pie in once this... Well, I believe I can, but I may have to slightly bend the wall, which might not be a very good thing. But well, at least it will be a snug fit. Oh no. Press it down. Make sure it's nice and flush with the surface. And if your part comes off, it's okay, you can always redo it by just pulling it out and reseating it. But this looks good. Now the tricky one comes in for the sides, because I have to connect it to two places at once. So actually 3 places at once. Alright. So just check that this goes here. Alright, and then put it in. I will first do the bottom surface and maybe one other surface, because the acrylic glue is kind of an acrylic cement, has a pretty fast dry time. It dries really quick. If you leave it out in the open, it's gonna just evaporate or vaporize very quickly, and so you kind of need to get the first get the part seated correctly in a very short period of time, which is not easy, but I guess, well, we can always come back, pull out this side a bit, and then repress it down. And same goes for any part which peels off. You can always pull it out a bit, stick a bit of glue in there, and then press it down, because then that would reseal or refuse the two pieces of acrylic together. Okay, hands got a bit of glue on them, but it seems that it's holding out. Now the last part. Okay, I should have checked this before I put it in, but oh dear. Okay, this seems to fit. The base isn't really well secured. Actually, nothing is very well secured. I try to focus on doing one by one. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It's a problem when you have too many pieces. It gets hard to get a quick and strong joint when you're having to straddle between 3 sides. But I guess we can just do it slowly. Okay, now this is the right side. Now that's not a very good joint. And I think how this glue works is that it's not like a normal glue, so there's no point spamming it unless you are trying to get it into hard to reach places, because any glue left on the side is not going to strengthen the piece at all. It needs to be between the two surfaces that are coming into contact. Okay, last but not least, this side. Alright, I think that settles it. For the software, I will be following this guide to flash my Raspberry Pi with the LoRa Basic Station firmware, and so I'll link this guide in the description below. So, once you have created a Belina account, you can simply just click on this button, which I believe will do all the pre-configuration for you. So let's just call it Basic Station. Let's see if there's... Yes, I think it should be the Raspberry Pi 3. Yeah, this looks like the best option. Fleet type. Yes, starter. And just create and deploy the basic station. Alright, now we're in. Alright, now we're going to create a device. So let's just click add device. Yes, Raspberry Pi 3. Let's just choose the recommended version. I'll just leave it as production. Let's just say Ethernet only. Yes. Check advanced. And let's just let's see if this works. Open. There we go. Oh no. I think this version is too low of my Berliner etcher. Now 1.5.121, and I think the Berliner, it needs to have 1.7.2, so I'll just update my software and be back. Alright, I have re-downloaded the latest version of Berliner Etcher, and let's flash it. So open. There we go. Now this seems to work. I'll now get my SD card and let's flash the image onto the SD card. Alright, I have inserted my SD card. Here it is. And let us flash it with the latest, with the image that we created from the Berliner cloud. Alright, I have the SD card with the image. And now let us see if we can put it into the Pi. And yes, we can. It is a little bit of a snug fit because well, the design of this thing is just really snug, and I just use my spludger to fully seat it in. God bless me if I need to remove it. Hopefully I'll not need to. Oh shit. Okay, that went in. I can't really tell if it's fully in, but I think that would do. Alright, so I'm just going to use a piece of tape to tape this part, because I foresee myself having to remove this whole thing again, which will mean that the whole... I will have to peel it off anyways. Alright, I'm just going to install the antenna first. So the left one is LoRa and the right one is GPS. It's also labeled there. Using this spludger to help me position it, and oh my days. Yep, this connector is kind of iffy. I believe it's the tiny IPEX connectors for the antenna. It would be a lot easier if I could use my hand, but unfortunately the case prevents me from doing so, and shit. Alright, I might just use my hand. Alright, there we go. That was not easy. And the other one, the GPS antenna. There we go. Alright, now I just need to reseat this back, and I will just use some tape to seal it, because I can't foresee myself having to pull this entire thing out to remove the SD card. Alright, so I'll use some tape. And now that my glue gun is fired up, let's attach the antenna. So for the GPS antenna, I'm just going to stick it on the back like this. Whereas for the LoRa antenna, I'm going to have to use hot glue to kind of stick on this DIY antenna holder. Alright, so that's done. And the antennas, let's double check that they're on the right spot. LoRa antenna and the GPS antenna. Yep, that looks good. And so I can just put this board in its final. What I can do now is just cover it up with the final piece of the laser cut case. And yeah, that'll be it. I'm just going to double check that these two connections are secure, because the antenna is extremely important. And then now I'm just going to screw in the case by using the screws that were provided. So here we go. And this case is a bit too short for the this case is a little bit too small. It's a bit too short. The standoffs kind of hit it a bit high, but I guess that will do as long as everything stays intact. I will update the designs so that it's a bit higher, maybe about an mm or so, but I'm still quite happy with the overall outcome. Alright, I'm now at the place where I'll be installing the gateway, which will be on one of these grills. So I'm just going to put the camera here. Alright, for this I have brought along with me an Apple charger head USB. I believe it outputs 1 amp at 5 volts. So I think that should be enough. If it's not enough, I'll probably get another one which supplies more current. I've got myself a micro USB cable, which I'll power my Pi 3B Plus from, and a bunch of zip ties to secure the thing to the grills, and an Ethernet cable for the Wi-Fi connection, and last but not least, the actual thing itself. So let's install it. I'm going to first use the zip ties to attach it to the grill. So what I'm going to do now is take like 2 zip ties at a time. Alright, let's go. I'll be having the Ethernet port facing down because it'll be easier to access, and I'll be placing it just about here. So let's get this part out of the way. Okay. First one. I'm not gonna tighten the zip tie all the way first, because I kind of want to see how much clearance I need before I tighten it all. I'm gonna make sure not to zip tie the antennas, because those things can be quite fragile. And I'm just trying to make sure that the zip ties all face the same direction, because it's just aesthetically more pleasing that way. Alright, now the first two zip ties have been secured on. I'm just gonna check everything's alright and then secure the bottom two. There we go. The RAK2245 Gateway installed in this custom case, zip tied onto my grill. Now I'm just going to install the remaining things, which is firstly the Ethernet cable, which is going to just plug into my power line adapter right here. That is connected to my router. And then of course the USB micro cable that will be used to power the thing. So it's just Alright, so now I'm going to set up the Things network. I'm going to connect my gateway to the Things network 3, the stack version 3, and to do this I'm going to first have to change the variables, because if I'm not wrong, the Things network, the stack v3 needs the region. I believe I chose Australia 1, so let's just change that. Alright, now I'm going to start, I'm going to register my gateway now. So that is myself, my gateway ID, let's just call it my gateway EUI. Oh no, let's call this lowercase letters. Alright, my EUI, if I'm not wrong, let's just check, it's here. EUI is this. In the gateway registration page, you fill in your gateway ID, your EUI, which I finally learned that you have to paste the notepad first from the Berliner Cloud tag so that you don't accidentally paste EUI colon as well, and as well as other miscellaneous things such as the description, etc, etc. For the frequency plan, I chose Asia 1, which is a 920 to 923 MHz band, because Singapore uses that band according to the TTN website. Before you can use your gateway, you have to first create an API key. So at the top right hand corner, click on the new API, add API key, and after that, choose rights as grant individual rights, select link as gateway to a gateway server for traffic exchange, and then create the key, copy the API key, and paste it into the TC key variable under the Berliner Cloud device variables section. If everything has been done correctly, the Raspberry Pi should reboot. The log should show that it is communicating with the TTN server, and on the TTN console itself, you should see the status change from disconnected to connected, and see the various uplink messages that you are likely to receive as a gateway. I went ahead to edit and provide more information about my gateway, my location, elevation, etc., whether or not my antenna was indoors and outdoors. But at this point, the gateway is essentially set up, and you can now expect to use it for your LoRa IoT projects. As of now, my main concern is that the heatsink on the Raspberry Pi is getting too hot. However, from experience of other users, this is normal. With that, I would like to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.